Okay, shalom, brothers and sisters. We want to say Shabbat Shalom. We're going to say in the Hebrew Credo, Shema Yasha'Allah Ahaya Allahaya Nawa Ahaya Akkad, which means, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. We're here on the Sabbath, and we have a complete detailed lesson. It's really what we would call an overview of information that we will go into detail with the next Hebrew Academy, which is going to be an advanced academy. And it's going to be more in depth opposed to the one we currently have, which is really in depth, but we found ways to improve it. So what I thought we would do is to give you an insight on some of the information and history and bibliography that brothers and sisters do receive in those particular academy lessons. They're pretty in-depth. Now, someone asked me last night, can we go into the full understanding of the Japhetic Amalek understanding? We're going to do a little more than that today. Today what we'll do is we'll give you some historical references. We'll also read from some of those historical references along with Bible precept to give you a full understanding on the world powers. When I say the world powers, John on the Isle of Patmos was shown visions of a dragon coming out of the water, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And this 7 heads and 10 horns was a government, John was shown, that will be used by Satan to control and destroy the earth. All right? So when you look at this, you understand that the devil, or Satan, appears as an angel of light. He would want to hide who that 7 heads and 10 horns are. And that is a direct link to the lesson we're going into today, identifying Amalek. All right? Now, the first time we did this in depth, to some degree it was erased, but we're going to deal with this from a historical standpoint with the research. Now, the research we'll use is not biased, it's not racist, this is no black spin on anything. A matter of fact, all the sources we'll use today will be Jewish European sources. We'll use those sources along with the Bible and precept to show you beyond any shadow of doubt that the 7 heads and 10 horns are trying to hide themselves in the earth, and they do have the power to hide themselves. And also in some of the literature, it tells you the reason why they want to hide themselves while controlling religious institutions. Now, of course, after the lesson around 1, 2 o'clock, you're able to log back in, and Elder Gabar in New York will be going over the law class. But we thought we would use this as a pretext to show you who is Amalek, who are the Romans today, and also what is their agenda. What is the New World Order? Now, you're going to find out that they have done the same thing time after time. But if you can't identify them, they're so fragmented in their control, you would never identify who God is opposed to in this earth, and you would not understand who Satan is using to bring forth his New World Order. So we're going to give you the biblical context so you can understand that the Bible is 100% fact and truthful when it comes to identifying prophecy and identifying the evils in this earth. If you try to go into any other so-called, what I would call conspiratory theory out there, you'll get totally lost, and that's where they want you. If you start going into the reptilian doctrine of David Icke, you're going off. If you start going into the Christian prophecies to preserve Israel today, or the state of Israel, you're going off. These are all diversions. If you're looking into space about Planet X and Planet Nibiru, you're going off. If you're looking into 2012 in the Mayans, you're going off. Okay, all these things, the Mayan prophecies in the calendar of 2012, you're totally going off. These are diversions that were set up. If you're going into science and what you would call the Big Bang Theory and different theories of Darwinism and science, you're going off. These are all theories and institutionalized diversions to keep people from understanding who is Edom, who is behind the destruction of the earth, the genocide, and the purpose killing of God's people. Is this a governmental plan? We'll find out. But in order to find out, we must first go back to the beginning. Now, the sources we're going to use. Now, again, this is information, and this is how we usually teach in our Hebrew academies. But we thought that we would actually bring this to the masses, to brothers and sisters out there, so they can see how much content and how much history you can receive if you get into these particular classes, number one. And number two, the world needs to know this. So we had every intention of making sure the world get it, but this is more of a vocation, so that people can study and have that vocation for themselves, so that they can go out with truth and destroy the gainsayers, because Satan have many minions in the front that will try to thwart, destroy, and divert the word of truth. So the resources we're going to use today, the outside sources, will be Arthur Koestler from the 13th tribe, which is Jewish, who's Jewish, and Charles A. Wiseman, who is also Jewish. And let me make this clear. We have no problem at all with any people in this earth. We don't have a problem with Jewish people. Okay, there is Jewish people out there that tells the truth. But we are against the seven heads and 10 horns in the governmental system that's set up under Satan to destroy God's people. And that's why we have to bring this forth, all right? There's Jewish people who are caught up in the conspiracy of being Jewish because they were just used as props for the 1948 propaganda of Israel going into, the Jewish people going into Israel and Palestine to assume the covenant. So a lot of these Jewish people are actually part of the props. They're not even Jewish through bloodline, even though they may be Esau. A lot of them don't have the same bloodline. And we're going to go over that. But let's first go into Revelations to identify, according to Revelations, this vision that John seen. Okay, let's go to Revelations, because you know we're in the end now, and John was being shown the end. And those of the church and God's people would need to identify this particular empire or government. And we're going to take you to the past and show you how systematically the same people got prestige, government power to continue their agenda towards destroying the children of Israel all over the earth. This is nothing new. We're going to go back in the Old Testament and prove beyond any shadow of a doubt that these same people have been systematically killing God's people over and over again, and have been targeting these people. Okay? And eventually prop themselves up over God's people education. Think about that. That's one of the biggest weapons. If you are in a position to teach your enemy, that's a weapon. So through trickery, they got themselves up in certain positions and became the authorities and institutions of learning to control and to kill God's people. We're going to prove this. But first, let's identify it according to the Bible. Okay? Let's start at Revelation 17, and let's start at the first verse, please.
Revelations chapter 17, verse 1.
Read it.
And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
It says, I will show you the judgment of the whore that sitteth upon many waters. Now, I want you to think about this. So this whore would not just sit on its own land. It would have bases and institutions and influence on many waters. Sounds familiar, right? NATO, right? They'll have bases set up all over the place. Primarily, believe it or not, they will be controlled, the controllers of this so-called NATO, or this one world military, or what we would call one world government. The controllers will be primarily European. And I'm going to show you why. They will be the heads of this so-called conglomerate of Satanism and conquest and genocide and hatred. We're going to prove this. Now, let me make this statement so that people can't think and try to hate on all white people. All right? There are white people out there who do not agree with Satan's program with these governments against the world. Those people are fine. But if you agree with what this world is doing, and you support and you wave the flag in patriotism for this evil that's going on in the earth, you're playing on the other side. Okay? There's no in-between with the Most High. So we're going to give you the evidence you need to know what side to be on today, going forward. Read.
Verse 2. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication.
Whom the king of the earth have committed fornication. Read.
And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
And it says, and the earth have become drunk. That means they have an institutionalized way of deceiving the people into a drunken state. This is a spiritual drunkenness, where you ever see someone drunk, they're staggering, they have no equilibrium, they're off keel, they don't understand what's going on. That's the world now. So they have an institution of confusion injected in what we would call education, to make the world drunk with the wine of their fornication. And it's spiritual fornication. They teach you what you would call unlawliness, unlawful activity, to keep you outside of the true grace of the God of the Hebrews. Read.
Verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness.
Go ahead.
And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast.
Now, scarlet is red. Now, examine this for a second. So, let's identify first that this beast is red. Now, out of all people of the earth, and I don't have to go through Genesis 36 because we did it before. And Genesis, I'm going to Genesis 36 soon, but I'm not going to go into the story of Jacob and Esau, Genesis 25, because it's evident that Esau came out red. So we're not identifying just one. We're not just going back there to talk about Jacob and Esau right now, because that's not the focus. We want to focus on that government or that scarlet-colored beast, which is Edom, or red one. Because this is what we have to focus on in Revelations, that the beast is scarlet colored. So now we can understand, when John was shown this, who to look out for, who to examine when it comes to a government structure. Okay? A scarlet colored beast. The scarlet is red. Edom means red. Esau, red. So we're looking at this beast here. This beast is government. Read.
Full of names of blasphemy.
Full of names of blasphemy. They would bring forth an institution under the Roman Catholic Church that would tell all churches that it's bad if you follow the laws of God. Now what type of trickery is that? They'll make you feel it's evil to follow what's in the Bible, in the churches. That's blasphemy. Oh, don't worry about remember the Sabbath and keep it holy. Come worship in the sun god temples every Sunday. Come worship the sun. Because Jesus said, worship the sun. See how they did this trickery and made you drunk? To the point where you will disagree with the words you read out of the Bible, you claim you uphold. That's blasphemy. Read.
having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Now, when you look at this 7 heads, the 7 heads is Rome itself. See, but don't just get caught in Rome. Because Rome, initially, think about this, is an idea. They didn't just stop at the borders of Rome. They used their conquest, their religious conquest, along with their military might to get the 10 horns as part of their government. And they used the same systematic program to eventually take over the world. So Rome sits on 7 hills. Let's go down and get that. Let's find out what this 7 heads are.
Verse 9.
Read the 9th verse.
And here is the mind which hath wisdom.
Here's those that have wisdom. That means if your spiritual eye is open, you can understand this.
The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth.
Now, understand this. It sits on 7 mountains, which show us that the only power at this time, or any time, that actually sat on 7 hills is Rome. So now we can identify Edom, Romans. Red, Romans. Now, it don't stop there. Let's go back up to the 7 heads, and let's get the 10 horns.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Read.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color.
Purple and scarlet color, which is royalty. Also, purple and scarlet is the colors of your cardinals and bishops in the Roman Catholic Church. So they're not even trying to hide who they are. See, the Roman Catholic Church is not the Church of Christ. It's the Church of Satan. They just hijacked Christ's name. But they're pagans. They always have been. They're Roman pagans. They're idolaters. They're Babylonian worshippers. They're genie and demon worshippers. They're Satanists. They're child sacrificers. This is what they do. They are child molesters. This is what they do. This empowers them. These sadistic men that actually play a part of this evil conspiracy against God's people in the Roman Catholic Church think in their thwarted minds that it's righteous to rape little boys and take their, what you would call, virtue. This is what they think. This is their psychology. They must rape little boys so that they can take the purity and innocence. And then they try to use the Bible and say, well, Christ says you have to be like one of these children to enter the kingdom of heaven. So they feel they need to take the innocence from the child to make it into the kingdom. Is that sick? This is what they think. And then the little boy who lost his innocence must grow up and become a priest so that he can take his innocence back by raping another little boy. This is what happens in the Roman Catholic Church. So don't think that you're going to stop pedophilia and child pedophilia in the Roman Catholic Church. It's part of the institution. Read.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color.
Go ahead.
And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls.
Now, when you go to the Vatican, you would think you're walking into the kingdom someplace. There's so much gold, so much riches, so much jewelry. Read.
Having a golden cup in her hand.
Golden. What's in her hand? A golden cup. Read.
Full of abominations and filthiness.
Full of abominations and filthiness.
Of her fornication.
Of her fornication. That means she's going to go around the world and have all of us sip out of this cup of total blasphemy and evil and fornication and sin, and everything that's against God is in this particular cup, brothers and sisters. Think about this. Now, if you got the military might, okay, and the psychology, which is sorcery, to control the earth, you could have people sip of this cup and think it's good. Read.
Verse 5. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great.
Hold up. Mystery. Now, why would this be a mystery in the Bible? Why? Because this beast, this 7 heads and 10 horns, would teach an education to hide their true identity. That's the mystery, because they would hide themselves. Like, for instance, and we're going to show you that even Charles A. Weissman said the same, that if you know that the Most High is against your actions, if you know that the Most High hate what you're doing, people that follow God, if they can identify you to what God hates, they would be against your programming. So they had to make the people believe in the world that they was not Edom, that they cannot be the 7 heads and 10 horns. Think about this. That's why it's a mystery. If everyone knew who was really controlling the institutions, because a lot of these people in these churches are really God-fearing people, they're just confused. If they understood that the people who are backing them and financially backing them have been killing them the whole time, and are the people God said look out for from the beginning, the gig would be up. So it's a mystery now. No one knows, well, who's Edom? We can identify Ishmael. We can identify Ham. I mean, they'll identify Ham in a minute in your Bible institutions. Oh yeah, Ishmaelites are Arabs, and Ham, oh, they're the black cursed people. And then you say, well, I need a question answered. Who's Edom? We don't know. They disappeared somewhere. They're like, well, the Bible is saying some serious punishments is coming to those that are in this spirit. So could it be that mystery that we can identify every people in the earth except Edom? Could it be that that beast in Revelations is truly Edom? Read.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great.
Mystery, Babylon the Great. Don't forget, she was on a scarlet-colored beast. So she did, even though she started in Rome, she would take her conquests out beyond her borders and ride this scarlet-colored beast and find America. Read.
The mother of harlots.
She's the mother of harlots, which means she's the mother of all these institutions that are calling themselves Christian churches. She's the mother of all these churches. So every church that came out of her is a what? A harlot. If you're taking any credo from the Roman Catholic Church, you are part of the harlot. If you're teaching Christ is God, you're part of the harlot. If you're teaching that Christ was born different than everyone else and came through an immaculate conception, a Babylonian immaculate conception, you are part of the harlot. If you're teaching Christ is God, you're part of the harlot. Okay? If you're teaching that God's people are done away with and they don't matter anymore, you're part of the harlot, because that is what's in the cup of that great whore. Lies and blasphemy. If you're teaching in your church that it's okay to break the laws of God and put down the Most High holy days and pick up Satan's holidays, Christmas and Easter, you have sipped the cup. You are part of the harlots. Because you didn't learn this on your own. This is your religious education from the Roman Catholic Church. Listen to this clearly. Read.
And abominations of the earth.
And abominations of the earth, which means they would take their abominations beyond their borders and taint the whole earth with their evil. Think about this. If you are God's people, your education, along with your communication and broadcasting, would be to keep the people in order with the Most High. You wouldn't allow a system that will let any religion come in and teach people anything. to have any one alternative lifestyles and homosexuals and pedophilias and just anything you name be okay in a society. If you had the power to execute true judgment, you wouldn't allow these things to permeate society. But if you have a hand in the devil's work, and if you have sipped the devil's cup, you will allow a society like that to thrive. And you will try to bring this Satanism and this evil to each society beyond your borders. Read on.
Verse 6. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints.
And see, another thing that can identify this woman. She's drunken with the blood of the saints. Now, it doesn't take a great history lesson for us to know. It was the Romans who took down the Jews and the Christians in Palestine and in Jerusalem. Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. So these people, the Romans, have killed the saints. And guess what? They're still killing the saints. They're still killing God's people. They've systematically set up a system in this earth that can target and destroy God's people all over the earth. I mean, it's madness what they're doing. I just received a letter just earlier today, how they were from a brother. May the Most High bless him. How him and his wife was told that she had to have her ovaries taken out, and that she has a problem, and it was telling her to abort her child. And he said they heard one of our lessons. He heard one of our lessons and said no, he went and got himself the clamps for the umbilical cord and hired a midwife. And stopped going to the hospital because they was trying to pressure the woman, saying something was going to happen to her if she don't abort her child and get her ovaries taken out. And next thing you know, just the other day, they had twins. Healthy twins, not vaccinated, because they listened to the truth. See, this is what they do. These same people who are controlling the earth have systematically set up their education and their medicine to destroy the saints of the Most High. I don't want to go on a tangent here, but this is what they do systematically now. They do it through what you would call science now. They do it through education now and psychology. They have you voluntarily destroy yourself. They're lying if they tell you, well, we need to do some ultrasounds. Ultrasounds give the baby brain damage, and they know it. Everything they set up kills people. They are targeting the saints. I don't want to go, this thing puts me on a tangent, so I'm just going to go back and reel this back into the history lesson. But I want to put that out there. Read on in Revelations.
Revelations chapter 17, verse 6.
Read.
And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints.
Drunken with the blood of the saints. Now they do it through a syringe now. And I'm going to keep on saying it almost every video. Vaccinations. They're poison. Cancer. Muscular sclerosis. Leukemia. Death. Brain damage. Autism. Okay? They are targeting the saints. Killing the saints. Read.
And with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua.
And with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. So these people are behind killing Christ and the disciples who would bring forth Christ's word. These are the people I'm going to show you that's over your government right now. So if they didn't care about Christ, and they don't now, according to their institutionalized teachings in the synagogue, and if they killed the disciples and the saints, what do you think they care about you? Okay? Their biggest weapon they use against the people is being anonymous. That's their biggest weapon. No one is able to reveal or to identify their true identity. And through secrecy, they're able to continue their conquest and death on the earth against God's people under Satan's rule. But we're going to give you everything you need Tawala. Let me get mystery from Revelation the 13 out of Greek. It means mystery, to shut the mouth. Mystery is to shut the mouth. So people cannot open up their mouths against this. That's what mystery means, to shut the mouth. If you don't know, then you can't speak. Here's another, this is good, brother. A secret or mystery through the idea of silence imposed by initiation or religious rites. To use religion to conceal the beast. Isn't that something? That these same people whom the Most High showed John would be destroying the earth today, that they would actually get over religion so that no one would understand who they are. The best way to hide themselves is by claiming there's someone in the book that they're not. It's a mystery. We're going to break down this mystery. The water, brother. That was good. Finish reading it because I want to identify the 7 heads and the 10 horns. Get that 7 heads and 10 horns. Read that again.
Verse 3. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness.
Go ahead.
And I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy.
Against God.
Having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Read off the 10 horns. Now, we went over this in the academy a few weeks ago with our full breakdown of the book of Daniel's, the 7th chapter. But let's run down those 10.
Luxembourg.
Luxembourg, 1.
Denmark.
Denmark, 2.
Belgium.
Belgium, 3.
Netherlands.
Netherlands, 4.
Germany.
Germany.
Sweden.
Sweden.
France.
France.
Spain.
Spain.
Great Britain.
Great Britain.
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Now, and Great Britain was originally in Scripture, you can read this in the book of Jasher, called Britannica. These are all European powers that were under the Roman Empire. This is the original 10 I'm just running off right here. They are the head of NATO. Okay? They are responsible for the death, destruction, and killing and the genocide of the earth. They're responsible for the eugenics program, the Planned Parenthood, the death and destruction over in Africa with the AIDS program, the deprivation of water by having wells digged and dams digged to stop water from going into certain areas in Africa. They would purchase upstream territory to stop water from coming downstream, to kill all God's people, destroying the saints. They are behind the vaccination programs. They're behind the war you see in the world today. They are behind the destruction of the North American Indians, the Baliquata Indians of Ephraim. They're behind the destruction of North, Central, and South America. They're behind the genocide. They're behind the science that claim that would have you question God, that would have you give homosexuals more rights than God himself. They are the idea behind what's wrong with the world. We're going to reveal it. And you know what? We understand that before this is over, they're going to look to destroy and kill us as well. But it doesn't matter. The truth never dies. Because look what happened once you killed our big brother Christ. He became greater. His work became greater. He took his blood to the heavenly tabernacle and sprinkled it for the sins of Israel, so that we can have the Holy Spirit to reveal you right now. You understand? Because the spirit of life is eternal. We wasn't meant to die from the beginning. And life is eternal. So listen, you can take the body, but you better fear the Most High, who can take the body and the spirit. Okay? And if you take us, we'll be back. But you in bad case. You are in bad case. And you know what? We're going to reveal this, and we're going to give you the history, and we're going to use all Jewish sources. All right? And I'm going to say this to the people who are in those synagogues who are learning from your rabbis. Even the Jewish people who think that they were God's people and are not. You've been tricked too. Your rabbis have tricked you. Your government have tricked you. You're part of their conspiracy. If you knew better, you would run out of there and you would plead for your souls. If you reject Christ in this world, he'll reject you in the world to come. And they teach you in these synagogues to reject Christ. Okay? So, we just identified the 10 horns. These are all European factions that are part of one government that have protection under NATO. Who's the head of them? Amalek. Now all these countries I've just named, Germany and all these different countries, these are all Edomite countries, okay? Originally they were Japhetic countries. They were Japhetic countries until Alexander the Greek, after his father conquered some lands in Asia, Alexander the Greek finished the wars against Japheth and took Asia, or what the Bible calls Asia Minor, which is Europe. Okay? They took Europe through Alexander the Greek. Before that, Alexander the Greek's father Philip was warring against the Asians. And they took the land masses I've just named. And these are the land masses they would use to bring forth what you would call Satan's government, his democracy, his republic. That will be the idea of the world on how to make a one world order. And he will use his people to do it. So even though, when you look in Genesis 36, Esau had many sons, all the 10 horns we've just mentioned come from Edom. If your fathers are from that, you are Edomites. That doesn't mean you cannot make it, but I needed to identify that. Because you would have to reject your gods, the republic, you would have to reject this world, like Cornelius did, and come to the true God of the Hebrews for safety. And for appreciation, because our God is still a forgiving God. But if you back this government that's about to fall, this 7 heads and 10 horns, you're going down with it. And that doesn't matter if you're black or white. If you're an Israelite or anybody following the ideologies that's in that cup, you're going down with the beast. If you're following their science, if you're following Darwinism, if you're following science and all the evils they're teaching, if you believe that Christ is not the Savior, you're going down with them because you believe the lies that came from the cup. If you believe you can purposely go against God's law and that he excuse you, and you're purposely going against the Most High, you're going down. That's just the way it is. There's no middle ground when it comes to the Most High. Okay? Now, there's more. Let's go into the lesson now. When you go to Genesis 25, 19 through 34, because I don't want to go through everything, because we're going to go through a lot of this in the academy, but I'm going to give you an overview. Genesis 25 and 19 breaks down. It breaks down the birth of Jacob and Esau. Jacob is the children God loved, and Esau had the mindset of what the Most High hated. Okay? And Esau, for one morsel of meat, sold his birthright. And then he got angry at his brother Jacob because Jacob received the blessings as well as the birthright. So when Jacob fell, what happened? Esau assumed that position and started fighting against Jacob. We all know this. But let's bring a broader light to this. Let's go into this Amalek, which was the son who would continue the conquest of his fathers. Who are they today? What is their idea? What were they doing before John was shown this vision? in Revelations, the 17th chapter. So we're going to give you some history to show you that they do the same thing over and over again. And this way you'll understand where you are in history and how they have programmed and went against you in our present day. And they don't care what color you are. If you are against this agenda, they will look to roll over you because they understand that it's only two powers, good and evil. And if you're not for them, you may sway to the good side to fight with Jacob. So they're looking to roll over you too. Whether you're white, Chinese, black, it doesn't matter your color. These people are Satanists. But we know that the predominant color of the deceivers and the destroyers in this earth are scarlet color. 7 heads, 10 horns. And their government has an agenda under Satan to kill and destroy. And they're aimed towards destroying the children of Israel all around the earth, and they're doing it. The Bible will tell you before it's over, 90% of us will be dead. They are behind that. Bill Gates with your Planned Parenthood. Okay? Bill Gates with the eugenics program, with your vaccination programs. Margaret Sanger, who was the lesbian that was behind it, that was a part of it, that would push lesbianism and homosexuality and put them over certain positions because they know these people are already demented in their minds. They're already reprobate. These people are crazy. These homosexuals that feel that they were born this way are out of their minds. These are the people they're putting over your society now. This is Satan's society. And instead of them being repentant and saying, well, listen, something is wrong with me, they embrace the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah. They embrace destroying family. They embrace getting their hands on the next generation and have full autonomy under the law to do so. Let's get it. Let's go to Genesis 36. And before we go there, let's get the document that I want to read. And as a matter of fact, if you want, because the guy brought some very good detail into this particular document. Okay, it's a book you can order. It's called Who is Edom? E-D-O-M by Charles A. Weissman. He's Jewish. Okay? Now, you can just type that in, Charles A. Weissman, and get the PDF. Now here's the deal. He identified the Jewish people as Edom, but he failed to deal with the 10 horns. So he goes into this some white people are Israel doctrine, which is off. But he do tell the truth about Amalek. He tells the truth about Amalek. Amalek is the head of this. So let's get some of the ideas based on the ideas of this Jewish brother, Charles A. Weissman, who came up with a book called Who's Edom. And let's go to what page you're on. What page is this?
Page 22.
Page 22 and 23, right?
22, probably down to 24.
Pages 22 through 24. I need you to read what you got there.
It says, this hatred by the Most High towards Esau.
Now he went into Romans 9 and 13 where it says the Most High loved Jacob and hated Esau. Read.
This hatred by God towards Esau is an attribute that the human heart cannot accept or embrace.
It says the hatred by God towards Esau is an attribute that the human heart cannot embrace. Read.
And therefore many will try to explain it away.
Therefore many will try to explain it away. This is what Weissman said. We can't relate to a God who would hate anyone. So we try to, come up with ways of ignoring the fact that God said this in the New Testament. Read.
Thus scores of theologians have avoided this truth of Scripture, who have whitewashed it into something more appealing to human nature.
So they changed the idea of what the Lord was saying in Romans 9 and 13 and made a doctrine whitewashed that's more appealing to our nature. Our nature is to accept a God that don't hate anyone, that would never have any attribute of hatred within him. So this is what the theologians did. They shaped this because they couldn't change what was on the page. Read. Let's jump over to page 23.
There is not one favorable or positive statement in the Bible in relation to Esau or Edom.
Read that again.
There is not one favorable or positive statement in the Bible in relation to Esau or Edom.
There is not one favorable or positive statement in the Bible in relation to Esau or Edom. Read.
But how does this adverse relationship which God has towards Esau or Edom help us to identify who this character is in the world today?
So it says, but how does this adverse relationship that God has towards Edom help us to understand who this character is in the world today? Okay? Now, how can we understand who this character is, whom the Most High have a problem with, if they're the people controlling everything and telling you they're not them? Listen to this clearly, because this is a Jewish guy that's saying this. His name, Charles A. Wiseman. Read.
To help us answer this, we have to put ourselves into the role which Esau has been assigned in the Most High script. If God hated you and your ancestors,
how
would you react and what would you do?
How would you react and what would you do? Just say if you knew for sure that God had a problem with you and your ancestors, and now you have the power to either tell the world this or hide the fact that the Most High feel this way about you. What would you do? This Wiseman posed some serious questions that should be answered. You mean to tell me you guys are so great in Scripture that you can identify everybody, even say that black people are from the cursed seed of Ham, but no one knows who Esau is? Something is not adding up. Read.
By natural reaction, you would be against God and his people.
Hold up. By natural reaction, if you knew that God was against your ancestors and you was in position, you would be against God yourself. So if you got the power to shape education, you would make people question whether or not there's a God, because you don't even agree with this God, knowing how he feels about you. So you'd rather say, well, Big Bang happened. We just happened here. The universe was shaped perfectly with no grand mind involved. It just happened. I'd rather say that, I come from an ape. See, these are the people that are behind your education. They're trying to hide something. They're trying to hide the God that's looking to judge them. So if they feel a certain type of way about God, then they can make you feel a certain type of way about God. And you notice, it's been systematic the whole time. How atheism and homosexuality go hand in hand now. Homosexuals use atheism and use the ideas of science to oppose God because they know God don't agree with their actions. So now you see why the governments have put up homosexuals, because they feel how the homosexuals feel. They hate God. There's more. What else did he say there?
By natural reaction, you would be against God and his people and try to prevent them from finding out you are Esau.
You would try to prevent them from finding out that you are Esau. That means if you knew that you were Esau and no one else knew, you would set up institutions You would teach hatred against that God. Why? He just said it right here. Because it says right here, if God hated you and your ancestors, how would you react? And what would you do? By natural reaction, you would be against God and his people. That means the people God set up, you would hate them. And try to prevent God's people from finding out that you are Esau. Listen to this. The one God is against you, knowing that if God is against something, so will his followers. So you had to set up an institution and hide yourself like the mystery of the scarlet-colored beast that sit on all waters, which is Edom, the scarlet red beast. You would have to hide yourself, because who would follow you if they knew you were trying to fight against God? You would get zero participation in the Christian churches. You wouldn't be able to come into the neighborhood, in the minority neighborhoods, and try to teach anything about God if they knew your agenda. If they knew you've always been against them. Talking about these governments, the Roman governments. Read what else you have there, other way.
Who is it that tries to conceal their identity as Edom?
Who is it that tries to conceal his identity as Edom? Listen to this clearly. So these people will operate on the earth, take down through conquest, destruction, total mayhem, with no identity. No one knows who these people are. They just come out of nowhere, out of Rome, out of Europe, and start taking over and bringing paganism everywhere. And no one can identify who these people. Some people say they Japheth. Some people say they this, they that. But they're all the same people. Oh, I'm Israel. Well, how can you be Israel, Italian, Roman, Spanish? I mean, how can you be everything? Middle Eastern. Oh, I'm the Jews. Oh, I'm European. I'm Egyptian. How is it you can be the same people with 30 different identities? Doesn't make any sense. Maybe it could be that you are the one whom the world has been trying to identify as the one person missing. We can identify everybody in the Bible except Edom. We're going to pull it out. 7 heads and 10 horns. I just gave you the titles, brothers and sisters, to those 10 horns. Do your research. They are the original 10. Look at who they were. Okay? Research it. Why? Because the Most High said that man of sin had to be revealed. And we're going to reveal Amalek right now, but Amalek is not by himself. Amalek is just the one that had Nephilim bloodline. That was the leader and had the ingenuity under Satan to pull his brothers together against the children of Israel. Okay? What else you have?
Who is it that tries to conceal their identity as Edom?
Who is it that tried to conceal their identity as Edom?
The one hated by God.
The one hated by God, read.
By claiming to be Israel.
By what?
By claiming to be Israel.
This is Charles A. Wiseman, a Jewish guy, saying it's the people claiming to be Israel that is actually Edom. Read on.
The one loved by God. Only one group of people reacts as though God has a hatred for them, that is the Jews.
Read that again.
Only one group of people reacts as though God has a hatred for them, that is the Jews.
It says it's only one people that act as if God have a hatred against them or for them, and that is the Jews, the Jewish people over in Israel today. And they do. They can't stand Christ's name. They can't stand Christ. And you know what? They can't stand the Father who sent him. So that hatred goes beyond Christ, brothers and sisters. They have a personal hatred for him. But they conceal their hatred by claiming to be Israel. And while they are taking the identity of the children of Israel through their military, through their education, through their media broadcasting. They're actually doing everything against God. They're doing what Edom have always done. Read more.
Why do you suppose the Jews form organizations?
Why do you, now listen what he's saying here. Why do you suppose Jewish people form organizations?
Such as the Anti-Defamation League.
Why would they make the Anti-Defamation League? Read.
To monitor and combat hate and to identify hate groups.
Why would they make the Anti-Defamation League? To monitor and combat hate and identify hate groups. Read.
Would not Esau want to do this?
Would not Esau want to do this? Read.
Why is it that it is predominantly Jews who promote the anti-hate laws?
Why is it predominantly Jews who promote the anti-hate laws? Well, no one is hating against them. But they're the ones promoting the anti-hate laws. Well, no one is going against them. Read.
And other hate crime legislation.
And other hate crime legislation. Why are they pushing this? Why do they come up with the anti-defamation? Read.
If you were Esau or Edom, would you not do the same?
If you were not Esau or Edom, if you were Esau or Edom, wouldn't you do the same? Read.
An Edomite would also want to infiltrate churches.
Read that again. An Edomite would also want to infiltrate churches. So then they would get over churches. Don't forget the whore had something in her cup. Blasphemy, the scarlet colored beast, Roman Catholic Church. So she would want to do what? He would want to do what?
Infiltrate churches and seminaries.
He would control churches and set up seminaries. Read.
To get God's people to believe that there is no God of hate.
Hold up. To teach God's people that there is no God of hate. Read.
Only a God of love and mercy.
Only a God of love and mercy. So they promoted that through the churches. Why? Because the Most High said he hated them. Talking about the powers under Satan, the Idumeans, who are purposely killing the saints, destroying the truth of God, and have a one world agenda to kill God's people all over the earth and defame and hate them. Under being totally anonymous during this, so that they can't be blamed. Well, I don't got no problem with anyone, but yet you're promoting media that's pushing hatred towards the people. You're pushing medicine that are killing the people. You're pushing demoralization. You're demoralizing the world by pushing Hollywood with hatred, killing, bullets, destruction, blowing things up. Read.
The Jews have done just that in Christendom.
The Jews have done just that in Christendom, which means the Jewish people have infiltrated Christians. They are the authority over Christ. And how can they build these seminary colleges to teach you about Christ when they hate Christ? They are against Christ. So how can they now get protection from the Christian churches saying support Israel? They're Esau. There's more. Read the Edomite Jews of today.
The Edomite Jews of today are the main ones who are concerned about hate, and with good reason. They are desperately trying to suppress all hate, even acts or words that can be construed as causing mental anguish. In response to their role as being the people against whom the Lord hath indignation forever, the Jews have made the concept of hate a taboo.
They have made the concept of hate taboo. That's why you have all these hate crimes and all that being promoted through media. They control media. They want this to be in the earth. The bad news. Because there's no good news anymore. There's no real reporting, just bad news, hatred. Now, let's go into and let's identify Amalek. And let's see if we can pull this together real quick. And we'll deal with this in the next academy in more detail. But let's get some scriptures now. And see some attributes. And see how Amalek moved himself from ancient times to modern times. All right? Now, Let's get Genesis 36 and Genesis 36 and 12.
Genesis chapter 36, verse 12. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son.
Esau's son, read.
And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek.
To who?
Amalek.
So Esau, read, had a son named Amalek who was related, and his mother was a Horite, which means she was actually a seed of Nephilim. You notice in mythology or Greek mythology, they talk about demigods, people that are part angel and part fallen god and part human. Okay, this is truth, brother. It's not myth, brothers and sisters. His mother was a child of a so-called demigod, fallen angel. So they had Nephilim blood in them. And that's the difference between him, even though there's other brothers and sisters like that, and some of the other children of Esau. They got the same father, but the mother's blood, the Horite blood, is demigod or fallen angels. Read.
Verse 12. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz.
Go to the 10th and 11th verse.
Chapter 10, verse.
Genesis 36, 10 and 11.
These are the names of Esau's sons. Eliphaz, the son of Adah, the wife of Esau. Ruel, the son of Bashemath, the wife of Esau. And the sons of Eliphaz were Teman, Omar, Zapho, and Gatam, and Kenaz. And Timnah was concubine to Eliphaz, Esau's son. And she bare to Eliphaz Amalek. And these were the sons of Adah.
Now, what do the Most High feel about Amalek? I need you to go to Numbers 24 and 20. And see, Christians could never get this. It's hard for them to get it. It's tough. And I really feel sorry for them because the way they're taught. They taught to ignore common sense. They taught don't even read the Old Testament, even though Christ fulfilled the Old Testament. So how do you know what Christ fulfilled if you don't believe the Old Testament? All right? So they've been taught to ignore history. See, and that's why the Jewish powers, the Idumeans, prey on the Christian church, because it's a church filled with pure ignorance. Let's go to Numbers 24 and 20. Numbers 24. Let's get that. I need that.
Numbers chapter 24, verse 20.
Read it.
And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations, but his latter end shall be that he shall perish forever.
Read that again.
And when he looked on Amalek, he took up his parable and said, Amalek was the first of the nations.
Now, I need you to read this word first. The word first out of the Strong's Concordance. Read the word first out of the Strong's Concordance.
The Hebrew word for first is ra'ashyath, which means the first in place, in order, or rank.
Read that again.
The first in place, time, order, or rank.
Order or rank, to let you know Amalek would be over the nations. They're over the United Nations. That's what it means, first of the nations. It says time, order, or rank. Read.
Beginning. Chief.
Or chief. So Amalek would be over the United Nations, brother. That's what, brothers and sisters, that's what it means, first of the nations. They're the controllers that brought all the nations together. They are over the world. Yeah, Amalek. Now, you notice it was Rockefeller that bought the United Nations in New York and so-called donated the territory to the United Nations to build it in New York. Who's the Rockefellers? They're Jewish Amalek Idumeans that stem from the Khazar and the Caesars and the Idumeans or Edomites. So we pour this in the scriptural context so that you can have everything you need to understand who is killing everyone, who is destroying everyone. Now, go ahead.
This is from the JPS Hebrew English Tanakh. And this is the same scripture. This is how they have it translated in this particular reference. It says, a leading nation is Amalek.
A leading nation is Amalek. That's the way it should be in the translation. So they are the leading nation. They're the people controlling all of the United Nations, if you understand the Hebrew. They're the chief. They're the brain trust behind the New World Order. Read. Okay. Now, let's get the next one now. Let's get Numbers 17 and 14. Numbers 17 and 14. Read that. Numbers,
Excuse me, Exodus.
Hold on.
It should be
Exodus.
Exodus.
Excuse me, Exodus 17 and 14. Exodus 17 and 14.
Exodus chapter 17, verse 14.
Read it.
And the Most High said unto Moses, write this for a memorial in a book.
Write this for a memorial in a book. Read.
And rehearse it in the ears of Joshua. For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
Read it again.
For I will utterly put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven.
The Most High promised Moses that he would put out the remembrance of Amalek from under heaven. So of course, Amalek in power would try to hide himself. And even in Christian doctrine, they try to teach Amalek got killed in the past. And try to claim that, okay, Amalek died already, so there's nothing to see here. You know, Amalek is with bin Laden right now. All right? He's gone, you know, he's swimming with the fishes. No. Amalek tried to hide himself. Don't forget, that's what they do, concealment. They try to say that, well, Amalek was killed by, he was killed by one of the children of Israel, and, he's gone. He don't exist anymore. But how can he not exist? Because who would pull all the nations together? Amalek. This is what Amalek does. He's the chief of nations. So, let's show you his plan against God's people even before Christ came on the scene, because he tried to kill us before, in the book of Esther. Let's go to follow us. The book of Esther, the 3rd chapter. If you have you brothers and sisters that are out there that study in theologian seminary colleges, the people out there who want truth, that are actually teaching in your ministries, get this information. This is key information that I know that you think that most people won't agree with it, but a lot of people are leaving the churches because they do agree with the truth. Don't think you're going to be sparing or sparing people's feelings, or trying to give it to them liberally. Teaching the truth allows them to see what they've been seeing the whole time and make sense of the Bible. By you teaching that there's an all-loving God that don't hate anybody, that God don't exist, okay? Stop teaching that. That don't exist. God is a God of wrath, okay? He brings wrath to as much love as he has. He brings wrath. Let's get it. Go to the book of Esther. Okay. What you got there? The fate of Amalek.
says, David waged a war of extermination against the Amalekites. He
It says,
retaliated.
here's another document that we will have in the academy called Fate of Amalek. It says David waged a second war of extermination against the Amalekites. Read.
Who retaliated by a successful surprise of Ziklag. David, however, followed and caught the Amalekites on the retreat, regaining their captives and spoils. On this occasion, the Amalekites, like all desert warriors, made their raids upon camels. After this defeat, Amalek disappears.
It says, after this defeat from David, Amalek disappears. Read.
So that it seems as though the nation had actually been exterminated by the wars with Saul and David. That it states in the time of Hezekiah, 500 Simeonites annihilated the last remnant of the Amalekites that had escaped on Mount Seir and settled in the places of Amalek. Thus the related tribes of Amalek and Edom were united again at the end.
It says what? And settled where? And escaped from what?
Escaped on Mount Seir and had settled there in their places of Amalek. Thus the related tribes Amalek and Edom were united again at the end.
So Amalek and Edom was united again. They was throwing out theories that Amalek got killed by Simeon. But really, some fled and got refuge with their brothers in Mount Seir of the Edomites to fight another day. I'm going to prove that. This can be proven. It's easy. Also, you can find a lot of this information we're reading out of the Jewish Encyclopedia. So even the Jewish people know that Amalek wasn't utterly destroyed. But let's prove to you, after this, what we read in Chronicles, this overview in Chronicles, people try to use and say there's no more Amalek. Let's prove he was on the scene after this. What was the time of Esther? The time of Esther. Let's give the brothers and sisters dates, history.
453 BC.
Give it to them again.
453 BC.
453 BC. This is 453 BC. Now this is, listen to this, brothers and sisters. This is almost 300 years after the 10 tribes, including Simeon, was already going out of the land of Israel. Listen to this. So I'm going to prove to you that Amalek wasn't destroyed. 453 BC, here come Amalek to try to destroy the children of Israel. How do we know this? Let's go to the book of Esther.
Esther chapter 3 verse 1.
Let's start the first verse. Go ahead.
After these things did Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite.
So let's see what Haman's plan was. And Agag's plan was.
And set his seat above all the princes that were with him.
Hold up. Don't go too fast for me, brother, because we're going to hit them here. We're going to hit them, and they're not going to have no place to run. Right here. No place to run. That scarlet colored beast will be revealed. Okay. Let's start from the beginning. The book of Esther. This is 453 BC. This is almost 300 years from the time the 10 tribes, including Simeon, is no longer in Israel. Okay? At this time, Simeon is already in South America. Okay? Now, or the Americas, excuse me. They already moved themselves over into the Americas. Now, let's read the first book of Esther. Chapter 3. Matter of fact, let's go to the first verse. The first chapter, the first verse. And then read the third one. Read.
Now it came to, Esther chapter 1 verse 1. Now it came to pass in the day of Ahasuerus, This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even unto Ethiopia, over 127 provinces. That in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of the kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all the princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of the provinces being before him.
So as you can see, this is during the Media-Persian rule. Now, let's go back. That means these people, the Persians, were over the children of Israel. I wanted to point that out. Now read 3 and 1.
Esther chapter 3 verse 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite.
Hold up, let's get Agagite. Let's get Agagite.
Agagite, H91, an Agagite or descendant of Agag.
Who's Agag?
It reference you to H90, which says flame, Agag, a title of Amalekitish kings.
Hold up, a title of the Amalek kings. So Agag was a descendant of the head of Esau's nations. And now the Persians are putting him in position to come against us during the time of Esther. Who else can plan our demise more so than Edom? So here they go again. And you're going to find out they do this time after time and get in position to exterminate us. Same thing. So don't think Israelites have been picked on, starting at this time, or slavery. Even in the Old Testament, before Christ came, they were picking on people and trying to kill people. When Christ came, they tried to kill him. They killed the disciples. This is what they do. Now let's get more of the story of what their plan was. Read.
Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed in reverence Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him.
So they put him up right next to the king. Okay, this is Esau. Read.
But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them. And they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did reverence him, then was Haman full of wrath. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Therefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus.
Mordecai, an Israelite, did not bow to Amalek. So he did what?
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews.
So now Haman, Amalek, is looking to kill all of God's people in the Old Testament. Y'all see this? This is history. See, the Christians don't know about this because this stuff like this bore Christians. Okay, they'd rather hear a song and have somebody screaming and have sweat dripping off them and they're screaming. This is what they want. They don't want to hear something that would actually give them the understanding of why we're in this condition and who's systematically killing us and how they've done this in the past. Stuff like this bore Christians. Listen, they'll look at you in a minute and say, well, I don't see salvation in what you're saying right here. Where's the salvation at? The salvation is understanding who's killing you. Read on.
And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone, for they had showed him the people of Mordecai. Wherefore Haman sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus.
So he was looking to exterminate all the Jews. Listen to this clearly. Read.
even the people of Mordecai.
Even the people of Mordecai. Read.
And the first month, that is the month Nisan, in the 12th year of King Ahasuerus, they cast her, that is the lot, before Haman from day to day, and from month to month, to the 12th month, that is the month Adar. And Haman said unto King Ahasuerus, there is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom.
Look at their plan. Haman says there's a lot of Israelites scattered throughout your province. Now notice the Bible says Israel will be scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. This is a new world order's extermination of God's people in the Old Testament. And the governments today is using the same blueprint. So how did Haman know that Israelites were scattered in different parts of the provinces? Unless he was taking censors or looking at our people and examining us from that high position. There's more. Read.
There is a certain people scattered abroad and dispersed among the people in all the provinces of thy kingdom, and their laws are diverse from all people.
He says their laws are different from your laws. Read.
Neither keep they the king's laws.
And they don't keep the king laws. So here it is, Haman comes in, and now he wants the king to come against us, saying, listen, you're not really the king if these people follow their own laws. And see, and that's how they get you in Christianity. Oh, don't follow God's laws. Follow the law of the land. Sounds familiar? Read.
Therefore, it is not for the king's profit to suffer them. If it please the king.
He said it don't profit you to allow them to worship their own God. See, Haman knew as long as our people follow the laws of God, there's a certain limit these nations could have against us. He knew that if we stop following the laws, the Most High take his hedge off of us, and now we're open game to them. Haman knew this, being an Edomite, being the son of Isaac. He understood the power of following the law. So he told the king, listen, it's not going to profit you if you allow these people to continue following their own law. You have to take their law away from them. Now, then we can play with them a little bit. We can, because their God is now mad at them, and then now we can do what we need to do. But it's going to be a problem if you allow these people to continue following their laws. If they follow their laws, they're saying that they don't respect your laws. They respect only the God of the universe. Look at what Haman did here. Read.
Verse 9. If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
Listen, now Haman is behind closed doors in a meeting saying, why don't we just kill them? Now listen, we did nothing to this man, you would think. See, unless you knew Haman was Edom, you would never understand why Haman would come out of nowhere and want to kill God's people. The story really doesn't make sense. He pops up out of nowhere, gets promoted, and now he comes with a program to kill God's people. It doesn't make sense unless you know his family line. He've always fought against his brother Jacob. Read.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business.
Read that again.
If it please the king, let it be written that they may be destroyed.
Let's kill them.
And I will pay 10,000 talents of silver to the hands of those that have the charge of the business, to bring it to the king's treasuries.
Listen, don't worry about it. We'll pay money to kill these people. We'll invest in this. Just for a few pieces of silver. And you would never guess who paid Judas. Yep. Same guys. Same exact guys. And they bought Christ up. Hold up, king. We know no other king but Caesar. Who's this guy? Coming to say he's trying to bring his own kingdom while our laws reign supreme over the earth. Hang him! Kill him! Crucify him! 30 pieces of silver. Sounds familiar? Now, see something, say something. If you hear a tip, you can get a reward. An anonymous tip. You can get a reward to turn some people in for 30 pieces of silver. Sounds familiar? Hang yourself. Kill your own people. Spy on your own people. 30 pieces of silver. See, these guys today are not coming from a new draft board. They are actually coming from the same blueprint of Idumeans and Edomites in the Roman Empire of the past. Read.
Verse 10. And the king took his ring from his hand and gave it to Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the Jews' enemy.
And he gave full power to the Jews, the Israelites' enemy. Look at this. And then what?
And the king said unto Haman, the silver is given to thee, the people also, to do with them as it seemeth good to thee. Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month, and there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province.
I'm going to show you this so you'll know what happens in the Pentagon and in their private United Nations and all their little meetings that for legislation. This is what they talk about. Well, how many babies died so far? Okay, we need to ramp up. Okay, let's get that scientist in here and see if we can get some deadlier strains of vaccinations for these people. All right, let's get this together here. These people are actually living. Let's get them out of here. All right, let's tell women, listen, something's wrong with you. Let's take out your ovaries. You know. Let's get this working here. These people are still living. We have a problem here. This is what they talk about, brothers and sisters. Planned Parenthood. You'll see signs. Are you depressed? Are you upset? And don't even know these are CIA signs. I'm going to show you how they use these CIA signs. Do you feel depressed? You call the hotline, and the hotline is asking you questions like, do you have any children? They know you're depressed already, so now let's go in there and get these children because maybe they're not living in a safe environment. This is how they do things. Okay? You'll be surprised what is CIA, brothers and sisters. Planned Parenthood, all these are CIA government institutions. The old lady next door to you that's watering her garden and maybe watering her little flowers and say, oh, how you doing? Could be CIA, brothers and sisters. You're looking at somebody to jump out in all black. Their plans, their mindset is told us by the Most High Himself. We understand how these guys operate because God has showed us the mind of Esau. And they keep doing the same blueprint over and over again, and they're banking on you being stupid and ignorant and not looking into history. These guys don't do new tricks. Why do something new when the old tricks work fine? The knowledge of how to defeat them is to bring them out from the dark. To bring them into the light so that everyone can see them, because that's the only way to fight against these guys. Read. Chapter and verse.
Esther chapter 3 verse 12.
Read.
Then were the king's scribes called on the 13th day of the first month. And there was written according to all that Haman had commanded unto the king's lieutenants, and to the governors that were over every province, and to the rulers of every people of every province, according to the writing thereof, and to every people after their language. And the name of King Ahasuerus was it written, and sealed with the king's ring. And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces.
So now everyone is getting letters on what to do against these people. Now mind you, these people had no idea this guy was planning the extermination. They figured government is just planning ways to make the government run smoothly and to protect the citizens. They had no idea that this guy was sitting up in a government seat next to the king, looking to kill them and everyone in the land. So if you don't think government plans total genocide and destruction, you better wake up. Read.
And the letters were sent by post into all the king's provinces, to destroy, to kill, and to cause to perish all Jews, both young and old, little children and women, in one day.
And what?
Little children and women in one day.
Okay, that sounds like martial law to me. It sounds like you. Let's just kill them all, women and children. Let's kill everybody. Now, this guy that's over this, is this a man of God that's coming up with this plan to kill God's people? These are the same people that fund Planned Parenthood. They tell you, oh, don't worry about it. It's just a fetus. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Just kill the people. Well, you know, the planet is just too crowded. You know, it's just too crowded. You know, lying. Like the Most High don't know how many people need to be in this earth. Who are you? They're trying to regulate how many people come into this earth. You must be crazy. And see, they are crazy. See, these are the people of Satan. Read more.
Even upon the 13th day of the 12th month, which is the month Adar, and to take the spoiler of them for a prey.
So here it is, they want to kill us and take anything we have. Read.
The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people.
It became law, brothers and sisters. Just imagine that. This is law. And you know how the police would be like, well, listen, I'm just following the law. So what if the law is unjust? Well, it's the law of the land. What if the law says it's okay to kill God's people? Is that a law we should follow? Read.
The copy of the writing for a commandment to be given in every province was published unto all people, that they should be ready against that day. The post went out being hastened by the king's commandment, and the decree was given in Shushan Palace, and the king and Haman sat down to drink. But the city Shushan was perplexed.
Read.
When Mordecai perceived all that was done, Mordecai rent his clothes and put on sackcloth with ashes, and went into the midst of the city, and cried with a loud and bitter cry, and came even before the king's gate, for none might enter into the king's gate clothed with sackcloth.
So here it is, Mordecai, prophet, man of the Most High, children of Israel, came crying once he heard it was a decree to slaughter all of his people. Now, I'm not going to read the whole story, but they took census. They wanted a number of how many children of Israel they needed to kill, as far as so that none could be left. Now they say, well, let's answer the census. We're counting on you. So they can actually keep tallies or keep tabs of the genocide. Or, if there's martial law, to know how much artillery is needed or poisons are needed to kill these particular people. Why don't you answer the census? You know, this is the way we find out whether or not a neighborhood needs help and how much help we can get in the neighborhood. They always come like that. Well, how can I be answering the census to get help when y'all said when you all are about to cut off all the programs? If you want to cut all the programs, why are you answering the census to know what to help us with? They're looking to kill you. This is Esau. This is Edom. This is the 10 horns. This is the scarlet-colored beast that went on waters bringing their psychology. Matter of fact, this is the minority we're speaking about. They're the minority. And they broke everyone up in factions and in groups so that they can look as if they are the majority. We must expose them. Now, I need you to go to the book of Esther, 16 and 10. The Apocrypha, to show you how this story continues. And you notice they took the rest of Esther out of the Bible, so that you can't pinpoint these characters. But we're going there. We're going into the Apocrypha, 2nd Esdras, 16 and 10.
2nd Esdras, chapter 16, verse 10.
Read.
For Haman, a Macedonian, the son of Amadatha.
Now, it calls Haman the Macedonian. Why? because this is Haman who went into Persia. Now, how do we know now that this links directly to the Greeks? How do we know this? Hold back and get the book of Maccabees. The book of Maccabees, the first chapter and the first verse.
First Maccabees chapter 1 verse 1.
Read.
And it happened that Alexander, son of Philip.
Now we know Alexander was Edom. He was Caucasian. Alexander the Greek. Read it again.
And it happened after that, Alexander, son of Philip.
Alexander, son of Philip.
The Macedonian.
The what?
The Macedonian.
The Macedonia. Because why? The Edomites went into Macedonia. To show you the Greeks are from the remnant of what we see here, the Agagite kings. Now we're bringing Esau from his birth all the way to his power over Greece. Examine that. Because right after this empire, what comes next? You had the Babylonian, Persian, Medo, and then you had who? The Greeks. Now they're in power. We're showing you when they first got their seat in Persia, in Macedonia, the Agagite, Agag, Haman from Agag. And what was their plan? To mass exterminate the children of Israel. Now they have a global seat. They have a superpower. And then they go into Rome and become an even greater empire to look to destroy God's people. There's more. Read what you got in the book of Esther 16 and 10.
Esther chapter 16 verse 10.
Read.
For Haman, a Macedonian,
The
son of Hamadatha, being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood, and far
He was a what?
and indeed being a stranger from the Persian blood.
So he wasn't actually a Persian. He was an Edomite living in the Persian area. See, this is how Esau hired himself. He go into areas, get power, get conquest, and just claim another name. Oh, I'm coming from Europe to take America. Now, America name is Azareth, but I'm just going to call it America. And I'm going to come from the Ten Horns, and so that no one will know who I am, I'm no longer Netherlands, I'm no longer Belgian, I'm no longer German, I'm American. I'm no longer what I was. This is how they hide themselves. But we know, according to the Bible, who you are and what your plan is. Again, we're not talking about all Caucasians. There's some Caucasians, a lot of them, who have denounced the Roman satanic paganisms. And if you are operating like that in the spirit of truth, you are our brother. We have no problem with you. But if you are operating in the spirit of Esau, God has a problem with you. And I'm not worried about you either, because based on this judgment, you are going down. Finish reading what you have.
Being indeed a stranger from the Persian blood.
He was a stranger from the Persian blood. To prove to you that he wasn't a Persian, he was Edom from Agag. Read.
And far distant from our goodness, and as a stranger received of us, had so far forth obtained the favor that we showed toward every nation, as that he was called our father, and was continually honored of all men, as the next person unto the king. But he, not bearing his great dignity, went about to deprive us of our kingdom and life.
See that? But they wanted to deprive Israel of our kingdom and our life. So they are set up to try to stop us from living according to God, according to the scriptures. They're set up to do that. They watch us carefully and put things in place to make it hard for us to actually follow the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. And then they try to hijack our understanding and say, okay, we worship the Sabbath. So that no one can recognize that they're actually Edomites, that don't even follow the Most High or Christ or the Bible itself. They play on both sides of the fence with a conspiracy in an effort to kill and destroy God's people through genocide, and they've always done the same. Now, so when you go into the book of Obadiah and it says, he shall destroy them from the mount of Esau, it's talking about the powers that stands. Okay? And in the book I've read, I'll keep on bringing out this book, The 13th Tribe, by Arthur Koestler, that show you that they're from Causaria. There was some more information in that particular literature from Weisman to show you how they assumed their new identity from Khazar. I want to get that real quick. Right there, you had it. You had it right there. That's what you got to do here. That'll be the last thing, and then we'll open up for questions here. Right there. The origins of the Jews.
It says,
many references.
many references in historical sources have on...
What page are you on there?
This is page 9.
Page 9, The Legacy of Esau and Edom by Charles A. Wiseman.
It says, many references in historical sources have unequivocally identified that the bulk of the Ashkenazi Jews were derived from the people known as Khazars.
It says many references in historical sources have unequivocally identified that the bulk of the Ashkenazi Jews were derived from a people known as Khazars. Read.
The original Jewish encyclopedia.
The original Jewish encyclopedia of 1905
revealed that the main stock of the Jews came from this Asiatic people known as Khazars or Khazars.
They came from these Asiatic people known as Khazars or Khazars. And when it says Asiatic, you have to realize Europe was originally part of Asia before it was taken by the Macedonians or the Edomites that took over Macedonia under Philip and Alexander the Greek. Now there's more.
It says, according to the Jewish encyclopedia.
Okay, we're on page, what, 11?
Mm-hmm.
Read.
According to the Jewish encyclopedia, the original stock of the Khazars came from the land of Edom.
Came from what?
Came from the land of Edom.
Read it again, nice and slow.
According to the Jewish encyclopedia.
According to the Jewish encyclopedia. We didn't write this encyclopedia, brothers and sisters. Read.
The original stock of the Khazars.
The original stock of the Khazars. Where are you here?
Page 11.
Show me where you at. According to the Jewish encyclopedia, the original stock of the Khazars came from the land of where?
Of Edom.
Of who?
Of Edom.
What?
Of Edom.
Of Edom. That's in the Jewish encyclopedia, brothers and sisters. This is all sources that you can research yourself. They can't hide no more. And you know what? They don't care to hide because they've assumed their position now. They own the military. They got NATO going. They have double-crossed the Arabs. They want World War III. And you know what? They know Israel is going to get blown up. And a lot of them, they don't care if their people get blown up with it because the hierarchy of Israel is going back to Europe to assume their original seat in Rome. This is where we are. They don't care. If they know Israel is not going to win this over there in the Middle East. They're looking to break the powers of the nations. And they know that we are going to be over in certain parts of the Middle East. They're looking for mass extermination. This is what this whole thing is about, brothers and sisters. Read the next part down there.
Hasdai Ibn Shapra, who was foreign minister to Abad al-Rahman.
Now listen to this. Hasdai Abad Shapra, who was the foreign minister to Abd al-Rahman,
Sultan of Cordoba.
This is the Sultan of Cordoba. Listen to this.
In his letter to King Joseph of the Khazars about 960.
This is 960 AD.
Speaks of the tradition according to which the Khazars once dwelt near the Seir mountains.
Hold up. This is documented fact. Quotes from sultans who say that the Khazars once dwelt near the Seir mountains. So let me tell you, the other nations in this earth know exactly who these people are. It's just the ignorant people who've been raised and dumbed down in the Western worlds are too ignorant when it comes to biblical and regular history. Therefore, these rogue demons are able to operate without impunity, without anyone coming against their evil. Read. There's a little bit more here. The Seir Mountains.
The Seir mountains are none other than the original land of Esau.
The Seir Mountains are none other than the original land of Esau, or who?
Edom.
Edom. Read.
Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom.
Genesis 36 and 8. Don't get more clear than that. We know who they are, and we know what their plan is. We have to come back to the Most High, follow the law, statutes, and commandments, and denounce them and pray against them and their God. They're going down. If you're covered through the blood of Christ and get baptized in the Holy Spirit, they have no power over you. Okay? That's why it says in Romans 9 and 13, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. These people are against God. You must be careful. They are against God. And if you teach anything like this, they'll call this hate teaching. Okay, let's okay. Vaccinations, is that love teaching? Mass genocide and killing the people over in Africa, is that love? Using your harp systems to kill the Haitians, the Levites over there, and depriving them of the resources to actually reap the benefits of their own country. Is that love? North American Indians on plantations. Oh, there's a lot of love right there. But if I tell you the truth and identifying the evils that are done to not only the people in America, but people all around the earth, dropping love bombs on Libyans? Is that love? What about the 1 million Iraqis who are dead? They go a lot of love right there. But here's the reverse psychology. If you reveal their evil, they taught you to believe it's hate. Love is truth. Christ says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Read the book of Obadiah sometimes. They cannot hide themselves. Again, but if the other nations put down the evils of their fathers and follow the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and get baptized in the blood of Christ, there's hope. But don't come to infiltrate, because those days are far behind us. If you come in to build, we're with you. If you come in to destroy or to try to taint it or spin it, you got a problem not with God's people, but with God himself. All right? I hope those details, as a matter of fact, we're going to make this a deeper part of the lesson in the academy that you all can be a part of. If you send an email to gatheringas1@aol.com and let us know that you want to be a part of it. But we thought we would take an overview and go into more biblical lessons to give you some understanding. And we hope that helped. With that, we're going to say shalom, and you can prepare for the law class. In the meantime, we'll open this up for questions. If you're looking to have questions on this particular topic, I'll open it up for questions for 5 minutes, and then we'll have to see you off and say, have a blessed Sabbath. Okay, I opened the chat, so I'll take 5 minutes of questions. The Rockefellers are 100% Amalek. Yes, 100%. They're from the Caesar's line. Matter of fact, believe it or not, they are the kings of the earth. They're the controllers of the whole earth. They're at the top, the pinnacle. Can we give you the link? All you have to do is type in, you can Google it. You can Google it. Charles A. Weissman PDF, and you'll see a few options there. The Rothschilds are what you would call the monetary families of Amalek. They are Amalek 100%. The Rothschilds big time are Amalek, absolutely. Now you have a few families who are not a part of that, like the Kennedys, who actually got in through popular demand. John F. Kennedy was able to get in, and they still wanted to be able to control him. If they can't control you, then they'll put in a Zionist vice president who can go with the plan if the president decide to do its own thing. So usually your vice presidents are really those who are controlled by the masses. I mean, by the Amalek powers. All right? Just like you got Joe Biden now. He's really one of the main guys under Barack Obama, even though Barack Obama is going to do a perfect job. He's a Satanist. So the Bushes are also Amalek. The Queen of England, Amalek. It doesn't say Esau married an albino. Don't get those messed up. He married Canaanites. And when you look in the book of Leviticus 13, it tells you about the curse of leprosy that was placed on parts of Canaan. That's where Esau got his wife. It wasn't albino. They were actually turned lepers, clean lepers. What scriptures talks about Amalek still being here? We just read it. We showed you them being from Persia, called the Macedonians, and then we showed them the Macedonians linked to Philip and Alexander the Greek in Maccabees, the first chapter, to show you the bloodline. Yeah, you can now debunk 1 Chronicles 4 and 41 through 43 by showing that they lived through that. We gave you the date, and we also gave you the name he was going under, Haman, the son of an Agagite. The Agagites are Amalek. And then we showed you how they passed from there to the Persians up until Philip, which is Alexander the Greek's father. Now you can see their movement through Persia up into Europe. Well, if you, the person says you looked into your state laws on immunization shots, and you can be exempt from taking these shots. What I would like you to do is send that information so that that can be, so that the brothers who are dealing with the site can put that on the site, and we can make that a news blast so that other people will know what steps they can take to avoid the poisons and death of vaccinations. The sicknesses. You get asthma from vaccinations. You get brain damage from vaccinations. You get poor hormone growth, poor physical growth. It weakens you. It dumbs you down. It lowers your IQ. It makes it hard to learn. Attention deficits. All that comes from vaccinations. Muscular sclerosis, leukemia. All your muscular diseases. Even when you get Jandra. When they say your baby has Jandra, they give you that when the baby's born. So you got to watch they don't prick the baby's feet when the baby's born. All right? Your Dan lesson will be coming very soon. The Eskimos are Japhet. And that proves to you that the Japhetic people were originally from Russia and Asia because they're from the Mongols. Alaska was, believe it or not, is really part of Russia. To prove to you, the original Russians were Asian. When you look at Amos 1 is a future prophecy. They wasn't utterly destroyed. Read it again. That's future prophecy. Those are the prophets. Okay? Yes. Ireland, Iceland, Greenland, all of them are Edomite lands. Scottish, they're all Edomite lands now. Those are all Edomite lands. But of course, Israel, after the Dark Ages, were in those lands. The same way, it's a melting pot now. You have all people, but predominantly the rulership of these particular lands are Edomites. Harad was Amalek, 100% Idumean, from his father Antipas. His father Antipas was set up under Julius Caesar around 50 BC. Antipas was 100% Idumean. Julius Caesar, Idumean. These are Edomites. There is no scripture to say that Hebrew Israelites of the Bible are white. The Hebrew Israelites of the Bible are not white. You are correct there. This is why Europeans call themselves dukes. When you go into Genesis 36, it'll show you the dukes of Esau. That's why they call themselves dukes today. You are correct. Someone says, what stemmed the Most High to hate Esau before he was born? You see what they're doing? The Most High understood the spirit that was placed in him when he was born. It's talking about their governmental rule, how they hate the Most High, how they would just give up even their own birthright for nothing and would sell themselves for nothing. Okay, and again, this is not all white people, okay, because believe it or not, the 13 families have kept themselves separate from the poor whites because a lot of the poor whites have mixed their blood with Israel. So they're trying to use DNA tests to see who has that Israelite strain in them to exterminate. You can get Canaan was struck with leprosy. Where's that? Leviticus 15, Leviticus 13. One moment. Leviticus 13, you can read about that, where the Most High, he told the priest when you go into the land, when something happens and the curse of leprosy comes on people in the house, he told them what to do, the prayers to do, because that area was struck with leprosy. So the Most High told the Levites, this is how you handle this in that land where leprosy is. Okay? Because the Canaanites were dealing with leprosy. That was a curse that was put on them. Read Leviticus 14 and 34. 14 and 34. Read it.
Leviticus chapter 14, verse 34. When ye be come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession.
See that? And it goes into it. But it talks about the laws of leprosy to show you that that was there even before Israelites went into the land of Canaan. And when you go to Numbers 12, you can see that leprosy, like he turned Miriam, white as snow. There is no difference between Edom and Amalekites. The only difference that you're seeing is when you look under the family lines in Genesis 36, Amalek or Eliphaz, family through Amalek, on the mother's side, had the fathers of Horites on the mother's side. All the Edomites did not have that. If you want to know where to go, I'm not going to discuss that in public. You can send a private email. We'll tell you how to get with the church and how to go about migrating if you want to be with the church. If you want to deal outside the church, we'll give you general information. All right? And that general information, you can deal with it and plan within yourself. But in order to deal with the church with it, we have to make sure there's order with it. So we have to give you the details for that. Is the rapture real? There's no such scripture as rapture. It is true when Christ returns, the dead shall rise, and those that remain on the earth, like it says in Thessalonians, will be caught up with Christ in the air, and they will change to become part of Christ's army and come back into the earth to judge the earth. So that's being caught up when Christ returns. That's not the rapture. They're teaching in Christianity that people are going to disappear, and then the Antichrist is going to come and bring forth the mark of the beast. That's garbage. That don't exist. The Jewish people go by the mother's bloodline because Esau's wife had the bloodline of the Nephilim, the Horites. That's why they go through the mother's bloodline, because the Nephilim seed, who they feel is superior to the regular creation, is more dominant to them because they had fallen angels' blood on Esau's wife's side. One of his wives was Horite or Amalek. Or what you would call fallen angel. So they go by the mother's side because they feel that the fallen angels are predominant and are greater than the Most High's creation. What you got? Okay, we're about to break down. Someone asks, why do I call the Most High, why do most Israelites brothers call the Most High Yahweh? Well, they call the Most High Yahweh because their teachers taught them the old Jewish name that was handed down from the Babylonians in the worship of Moloch. So they worship and they follow the YHWH that was handed down to them by the Jewish people. And our people in the Old Testament followed that same God, but that was a God that we followed going away from the true God of the Hebrews. So you can find that name in old relics because that's the God we fell to over and over again. That's Moloch. So that's why. A lot of our people don't know. Yeah, Tawaf Amar, we already answered that. He was living in Persia, but he wasn't a Persian. Sorry, he was Amalek. You would have to view the video again and check the sources. Okay. All right. What's the next question here? Someone asks, where can you find the Horites being of Nephilim descent spiritually? Let me show you. Go to Genesis 36. Let's go to Genesis 36 and 21 where it says Horite.
Genesis chapter 36, verse 20.
Go to 21. Read the 21.
Verse 21. And Dishon and Esau, and these are the dukes of the Horites.
These are the dukes of the Horites. When you look at that Horite there, it gives you the Hebrew breakdown of Horite, and I want y'all to look at this. It says, cave dweller, Korite, or aboriginally Idumean, Horims or Horites. And when you look at the Horims, let me give you the link up to the Horims here. The Horims link to the Hittites. Read Genesis 36 and 2.
Genesis chapter 36, verse 2.
Read it.
Esau took his wives of the daughters of Canaan, Adad the daughter of Elon the Hittite, and Aholibamah the daughter of Anah, the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite.
The daughter of Hanah. Now the Hivites and the Hittites are Nephilim. Now, let's go to Deuteronomy 2 and 12. Read this. Deuteronomy 2 and 12.
Deuteronomy chapter 2, verse 12.
Read.
The Horims also dwelt in Seir before a time, but the children of Esau succeeded them.
See that? You have the Horims living in Mount Seir before Esau got there. See that? But the children of Esau succeeded them. Read.
When they had destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead.
So they dwelt in the land instead of those Nephilim, which were fallen angels' children. They didn't destroy them all, obviously, because Esau married some. Do you see that? So you link up these precepts, it'll give you full understanding there. Right? I'm glad the Most High allowed us to go into this in depth to take away any doubt when it comes to the truth, and you can have your biblical. And see, this is how in depth we go into the scriptures in the academy. I can't talk about that enough, okay? So if y'all want to be a part of that, all right? We got a new one coming up that's more advanced and that we put a lot of time into, and it'll be more structured and more information. So for those who want to be a part of that, you know, you can send an email to gatheringas1, the number 1, at AOL.com. If you want to know what's going on in the UK, whether or not that's Bible prophecy, because I went into that last night, you can handle that. But I know that what's going to happen is they're going to use what's going on in the UK and bring in martial law. They're going to bring in martial law over there. And the martial law is going to be aimed towards the same people. It's going to be aimed towards Jacob. Okay? Okay, here's the last scripture before we break down. Let's go to Romans 14, 5 and 6.
Romans chapter 14, verse 5.
Read.
One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded within his own mind.
Well, that's crystal clear. One man is esteemeth the one day. It talks about one man can be exalted and esteemed as for good works one day, and another man the next. Okay? And it also says, let each man be fully persuaded in his own mind. You can't force men to understand. You have to believe and be fully persuaded in your own mind to be able to believe and understand. That's self-explanatory. Is Western Africa a bad place to go right now? Absolutely, Western Africa, unless you're going into a place like Ghana. Ghana is pretty stable right now. But still, it's a lot of adjusting you would need to do. But I don't want to go into that. You would have to send if you were looking to migrate, you would have to go through the proper channels. The Day of Atonement is the day that you were baptized. All right, but if you want to know what Day of Atonement falls in, it's simple. That any holy day, go to our website, gatheringofchrist.org, and look at the calendar, and you will see it right there, the date, the sundown, everything. All right? I don't want to give you, I can give you an estimate, but I would have to look at the calendar there. Okay? Why do the Jewish people always touch and pray on that wall in Israel? The reason they touch and pray on that wall in Israel is because under Solomon, when you understand and look into certain understandings like the Testament of Solomon, there's two demons that holds the pillar of that particular temple, and that's part of that wall. So they're actually sending messages and actually praying to those demons or jinns in the wall. The same way the Arabs pray to the jinns and the jinns and genies and demons in the Kaaba. It's satanic devil worshiping. It's sorcery. Okay? Well, that's it. Thank you, and I hope we gave you an insight on what we will be going of how much in debt